The first snow of winter was falling on the great forest. It came not in a wild blizzard, but in a slow, silent dance of the most perfect, feathery snowflakes. They drifted down from a soft, grey sky, blanketing the world in a pristine layer of white. For most of the creatures in the forest, this was a signal. It was a gentle, sleepy time alarm clock, telling them that the long, cozy rest of winter was about to begin. The badgers were finishing the last of their winter stores. The squirrels were counting their acorns one last time. And all through the forest, a great collective yawn was taking place. But for a little bear cub named Barnaby, the first snow was not a signal for sleep. It was a signal for adventure. He sat at the mouth of his family's warm, earthy den, his big, amber eyes wide with excitement. He watched as a single, perfect snowflake landed on his little black nose and melted. He saw how the snow made the dark, familiar pine trees look like they were dusted with sugar. To him, the world wasn't going to sleep. It was being transformed into a brand new, magical playground, and he couldn't wait to explore it. Inside the den, it was warm and safe, smelling of dry leaves, rich earth, and the comforting scent of his sleeping family. His mother, father, and 2 sisters were already curled up together in a great, furry pile, their deep, rumbling snores, a soft and steady rhythm in the quiet dark. This was the great sleep, the hibernation that would carry them all the way through the cold winter to the warm sunshine of spring. Barnaby knew he was supposed to be sleepy too. He went to his spot, beside his mother, curled himself into the tightest ball he could, and squeezed his eyes shut. He tried to think sleepy thoughts. He thought of slow-moving rivers and the heavy sweetness of honey. He tried to count leaping salmon, just as his father had taught him, but it was no use. His mind was not sleepy. It was buzzing with excitement. He could hear the soft whisper of the snow piling up outside. He could imagine the beautiful, white, untouched world that was waiting for him. How could anyone sleep when there was so much to see? He wriggled and squirmed, trying to get comfortable, but his little body was filled with a restless energy that just wouldn't quit. He was a small, awake island in a great, sleeping sea of bears, and he felt more alert and more curious than ever before. Finally, Barnaby couldn't stand it any longer. The need to see the new, snowy world was too great to ignore. As quietly as a shadow, he crept out of the warm pile of his family and tiptoed to the entrance of the den. He poked his nose out into the cold, clean air. The world was even more beautiful than he had imagined. The snow had stopped, and a huge, bright moon had risen, making the entire forest glitter and sparkle as if it were covered in diamond dust. Just as he was about to take his first happy step into the snow, a soft, deep voice hooted from the branch of the great oak tree above him. "It is a beautiful night," the voice said, "but it is a night for sleeping, little one." Barnaby looked up and saw Professor Hoot, the oldest and wisest owl in the forest. The owl's large, yellow eyes blinked slowly from behind a pair of small, golden spectacles that were perched perfectly on his beak. He looked very scholarly and very kind. "I can't sleep, Professor Hoot," Barnaby admitted in a small voice. "I try and try, but my feet want to explore and my eyes want to see. The world is too exciting to sleep through." The wise old owl tilted his head, a soft, knowing look in his intelligent eyes. He had seen this before in young, curious creatures. "Ah, yes," Professor Hoot said, his voice a soft, deep rumble. "You have the winter wiggles. You see all this new white beauty, and you think of it as a playground. You think of sleep as a cage that is keeping you from the fun. Barnaby nodded, his head eagerly. That was exactly how he felt. But you have it all wrong, little bear, the owl continued, a gentle smile in his voice. The great sleep is not an end to adventure. It is just a different kind of adventure. A quieter, softer, and in some ways, an even more magical one. Barnaby looked confused. How could sleeping be an adventure? You see the forest with your waking eyes, Professor Hoot explained. But there is another way to see it, a way you can only understand when the world is quiet and at rest. I am about to begin my nightly flight. If you promise to be very, very quiet, and to walk as softly as a falling snowflake, I will take you on a little tour. I will show you the secret beauty of the sleeping forest. Barnaby's heart gave a little leap of excitement. A secret tour with the wisest owl in the woods. It sounded like the best adventure of all. He nodded his head vigorously, promising to be as quiet as a shadow, his amber eyes shining with anticipation. With a silent, powerful flap of his magnificent wings, Professor Hoot swooped down from the branch and landed softly on the snow a few feet ahead of Barnaby. "Follow me," he hooted gently, "and tread softly. We are walking through a world of dreams now." And so their strange and silent tours began. The forest at night, under its blanket of fresh snow, was a place of breathtaking beauty. Every branch was perfectly outlined in white, and the moonlight cast long, soft blue shadows on the ground. The world seemed to be holding its breath in a deep and peaceful sleep. There were no sounds of rustling leaves or snapping twigs, only the soft crunch, crunch, crunch of Barnaby's own paws in the deep, fresh powder. He tried to walk as quietly as the owl, placing his feet carefully, his ears straining in the silence. It was a completely different world from the bustling, noisy forest he knew during the day. This world was calm, serene, and incredibly peaceful. It felt as if they were the only two creatures awake in the entire world, two quiet explorers in a land made of moonlight and silver. Barnaby had been right. It was a magical playground, but he was beginning to understand that it was a different kind of magic, a magic of stillness and quiet wonder. Professor Hoot led Barnaby to the base of a tall, hollow maple tree. "The first stop on our tour," he whispered, pointing a wing towards a small, round hole in the trunk. "The home of the chiptail squirrel family." Barnaby peered closer. The entrance to the squirrel's nest was covered in a thin, delicate layer of frost. But this was no ordinary frost. It was shimmering with a soft, multicolored light, as if it were made of crushed opals. And within the frost itself, faint, dreamlike images were swirling and dancing. It was the dream frost, the visible magic of a creature's happy hibernation. Barnaby watched, mesmerized, as he saw the shapes of 1,000 perfect acorns, a mountain of delicious walnuts, and a waterfall of sweet, crunchy pine cones swirling in the frost. "They are dreaming," Professor Hoot explained softly. "After a long season of hard work, gathering and storing, they are now enjoying the fruits of their labor in their dreams. Their sleep is not empty. It is full and happy, a long and satisfying feast." Barnaby looked at the beautiful, swirling images of nuts. He had always thought of sleep as just ... darkness. But this was not darkness. This was a happy, wonderful, and very busy dream. The squirrels weren't missing out on anything. They were having their own perfect adventure. Next, Professor Hoot led Barnaby across the clearing to a large earthen mound under the roots of an old willow tree. It was the entrance to the badger's set, their deep and complex underground home. Here, too, the entrance was sealed with a beautiful, shimmering layer of dream frost. Barnaby crept closer to look. The dream swirling within this frost was very different from the squirrel's dream of feasts. This dream was full of the satisfying feeling of digging through cool, dark earth. It showed images of intricate, winding tunnels, of cozy, leaf-lined sleeping chambers deep underground, and of the discovery of the most delicious, juicy roots. "The badgers are great builders," Professor Hoot whispered, his voice full of respect. "They spend their year making their home perfect and safe. Their winter sleep is a dream of deep security, of feeling the good, strong earth all around them. It is a dream of being perfectly, safely home." Barnaby watched the swirling images of cozy tunnels and safe rooms. He thought of his own den, of the warmth of his mother and sisters, and the deep, steady sound of his father's snores. He was beginning to understand. Sleep wasn't about missing out on the world outside. It was about enjoying the safety and comfort of the world you had created, whether it was a nest full of nuts or a deep, warm burrow. Their silent tours continued. Professor Hoot pointed out a small, hollow depression at the base of a snow-covered bush. It was the resting place of a family of snowshoe hares. Their fur had turned from brown to a snowy white, making them almost invisible against the snow. They did not hibernate in the same deep way that Barnaby's family did, but they were in a deep, restful sleep. A thin, delicate layer of dream frost lay over them like a fragile, sparkling blanket. Barnaby looked into their dream and saw something surprising. They were not dreaming of winter. Their dream was filled with the sights and sounds of summer. He saw images of a brilliant, warm sun, of a field of lush, green clover, and of the sweet taste of purple wildflowers. "Their dream is a memory," Professor Hoot hooted softly. "They are keeping the memory of the warm sun and the green grass alive in their hearts. A happy story to keep them warm through the long, cold winter." This was a new idea for Barnaby. Sleep wasn't just about feasting or safety. It was also a library of happy memories, a place to revisit your favorite days. He thought of his own favorite summer memories, sitting in a field of berries. The sun warm on his fur, his tummy full and happy. The thought made him feel a little bit warm and sleepy himself. Professor Hoot then led Barnaby to the bank of the great river. In the summer, the river was a loud and boisterous friend, always roaring and rushing over the rocks. But now it was silent. A thick, smooth layer of ice covered it from bank to bank, and the snow lay upon the ice like a soft, white blanket. "Even the river sleeps," Professor Hoot whispered, his voice full of a deep reverence. "It seems still and lifeless on the surface, but underneath that ice, the water is moving very, very slowly, gathering its strength. It is resting. It is dreaming of the spring, when the ice will melt and it can once again sing its roaring song and race to the sea." Barnaby looked at the vast, silent, frozen river. He had never thought of a river as something that could be tired and need to rest. It made him realize that the great sleep was not just for the animals. It was a rhythm that the whole world followed. The trees were sleeping, the flowers were sleeping, and now he knew that even the mighty river was sleeping. The entire world was taking a deep, slow, and necessary breath, and he was the only one trying to run around while everyone else was resting peacefully. For the first time, being awake felt a little bit lonely. Their silent tour continued. Professor Hoot pointed out a small, hollow depression at the base of a snow-covered bush. It was the resting place of a family of snowshoe hares. Their fur had turned from brown to a snowy white, making them almost invisible against the snow. They did not hibernate in the same deep way that Barnaby's family did, but they were in a deep, restful sleep. A thin, delicate layer of dream frost lay over them like a fragile, sparkling blanket. Barnaby looked into their dream and saw something surprising. They were not dreaming of winter. Their dream was filled with the sights and sounds of summer. He saw images of a brilliant, warm sun, of a field of lush, green clover, and of the sweet taste of purple wildflowers. Their dream is a memory, Professor Hoot hooted softly. They are keeping the memory of the warm sun and the green grass alive in their hearts. A happy story to keep them warm through the long, cold winter. This was a new idea for Barnaby. Sleep wasn't just about feasting or safety. It was also the library of happy memories, a place to revisit your favorite days. He thought of his own favorite summer memories, sitting in a field of berries. The sun warm on his fur, his tummy full and happy. The thought made him feel a little bit warm and sleepy himself. Professor Hoot looked up at the brilliant, starry sky, and a faraway, peaceful look came into his large, yellow eyes. "My dreams are very quiet," he said, his voice becoming a soft, dreamy whisper. "I dream that my feathers are not feathers at all, but are made of the night sky itself. I dream that I can fly higher than the tallest trees, higher than the highest mountain peak, all the way up until I can fly among the stars themselves." He described how, in his dreams, he would soar through the silent, silver river of the Milky Way. He would not hunt, and he would not watch. He would simply fly, a silent, feathered star himself, listening to the quiet, ancient music that the constellations make as they slowly turn. "I dream of reading the star stories," he continued, "not in books, but in their silvery light. It is a very different kind of adventure from my waking life, but it is an adventure nonetheless." Barnaby listened, completely captivated. He had never thought of dreams as a place you could go, as another world to explore. The professor's dream sounded so beautiful and so peaceful. He realized that sleep wasn't an absence of fun. It was a secret, personal adventure that everyone got to have, a magical story that unfolded only for you. "It is time to get you home, little adventurer," Professor Hoot said gently, his voice pulling Barnaby from his reverie. "Your own dreams are waiting for you." He began to lead the way back, his silent feet leaving barely a mark on the snow. Barnaby followed, his own paws now feeling heavy with a pleasant weariness. The journey back felt different. The forest no longer looked like a playground waiting to be explored. It looked like a giant, cozy bedroom with all of his friends and neighbors tucked safely into their beds. The silence no longer felt empty. It felt full of peaceful, happy dreams. He looked at the shimmering dream frost on the dens as he passed, and he no longer felt jealous. He felt a quiet happiness for his friends, knowing that they were safe and content, enjoying their own private adventures. He looked up at the moon, and its light seemed to be a gentle, sleepy nightlight for the entire world. He felt a deep sense of connection to it all, a feeling of being a small but important part of the great, quiet, winter-long slumber party. He was ready to join in. The winter wiggles had finally been soothed, replaced by the soft, heavy, and wonderful feeling of true sleepiness. They arrived back at the entrance to Barnaby's den. The air from inside was warm and smelled of home. "Thank you, Professor Hoot," Barnaby whispered, his voice a sleepy mumble. "That was the best adventure ever." The wise old owl simply gave him a gentle nod and a kind wink from behind his spectacles. "The best adventures are yet to come, little bear," he hooted softly. "They are waiting for you in your dreams." And with a single, silent flap of his wings, he was gone, a fleeting shadow against the moonlit snow. Barnaby turned and tiptoed back into the warmth of his den. He looked at the great, furry pile of his sleeping family. Before, they had just looked like a lumpy hill that he wanted to climb over. But now, he saw them differently. He saw his mother, and he wondered if she was dreaming of a warm summer day. He saw his sisters, and he wondered if they were dreaming of chasing butterflies. He saw his father, and he knew he was dreaming of catching the biggest salmon in the river. They weren't just sleeping, they were exploring, feasting, and remembering. They were on their own magical adventures, and he was finally ready to join them. Barnaby crept over to his spot and snuggled deep into the warm fur of his mother. It felt like the coziest, safest, and most wonderful place in the entire world. He closed his big, amber eyes, and this time, he didn't try to fight his sleepiness. He welcomed it like a dear old friend. He didn't try to count salmon or think of sleepy things. Instead, he thought about what kind of dream adventure he wanted to have. He decided he didn't want to dream of endless feasts or grand adventures. He wanted a quiet, happy dream. He decided to dream of the beautiful, sleeping forest he had just explored. He would dream of the kind, wise owl who had been his guide. He would dream of the shimmering, magical dream frost and the happy, secret stories it told. He would dream of his whole world, all of his friends and his family, all tucked in and sleeping peacefully under the watchful, gentle light of the winter moon. As he thought of all these peaceful, happy things, a final, deep, and wonderfully satisfying wave of sleepiness washed over him, and he let it carry him away on its gentle current. And as Barnaby finally, truly, fell into his first deep sleep of the winter, a new and beautiful magic happened. Outside the entrance to the den, a thin, delicate layer of frost began to form on the snowy ground. It was the dream frost. It shimmered with a soft, gentle, multicolored light, a signal to the whole forest that the last little bear cub was finally on his own dream adventure. And swirling within its beautiful, sparkling patterns were the images of his happy, peaceful dream. There was the shape of a wise old owl with golden spectacles. There was the image of a silent, snow-covered forest under a bright, smiling moon. And there was the picture of a happy family of bears, all snuggled together, safe and warm in their cozy den. The winter wiggles were gone, replaced by the deep, peaceful, and magical rhythm of the great sleep. Barnaby, the little bear who couldn't hibernate, was finally dreaming, his heart full of the quiet beauty of the sleeping world, ready to rest and gather his strength for the wonderful adventures that would be waiting for him when the spring sun finally returned to wake him. And so, Barnaby, the little bear, learned that the quietest adventures are sometimes the most wonderful. Now, it is your turn to find the peace in the quiet of your own cozy room. Close your eyes, let the stillness be your friend, and have a wonderful sleep. If you enjoyed our fable tonight, we hope you'll join us again. Please like and subscribe to Bedtimes Fable to help us share more gentle stories with the world. Sweet dreams.